Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy Friday. This is the Bird Dog Breakdown. I am going to be here. Monica and Ingrid are currently busy working on other projects. So um, you got me today. So I'm looking forward to walking through some of the things that we've gone through. Hey, Chris. Hey, Katie. Uh, hey, Robin. Thanks for joining. Happy Friday. So I got a few things. We have a lot of deals being sent, which is so awesome, and I appreciate. So we've been creating a system too where we can provide feedback because we're getting so many leads coming in, which is a great problem to have. Hey, Sandra, and so it's been it's been good. We're building out our the feedback process because of like we have 62 different mobile home park or RV parks that have been sent. And then we've had over 30 fix and flips between like what Ingryd gets in Arizona. I know we have more because Monica gets some in Reno. And then for me in South Florida, we've been getting fix and flips being sent to us as well. And so we've had a lot to evaluate. And I built some process to where as soon as we give that feedback and if we're moving that deal to declined, you should be getting an email that will let you know why we declined. And if it's a fix and flip, we'll tell you the price that we need it at in order for us to make this work, right? Most deals, um, I'll walk through some of the things that we've been seeing, but if there is sufficient comps, most deals, there's just not enough spread on the fix and flips for us to pull the trigger on it. So we will give feedback around what's the ARV need to be for us to, or what's the counter offer, the purchase price need to be in order for us to jump on that deal. And we'll give that feedback so you can bring it back to whoever you got it from, maybe a wholesaler or whatever the case is. Say I have a buyer, but they'll buy it at 255,000, not 300,000, and probably will say no. But at least we know that's the spread that we'll need in order to make this deal work. So I will. I'm going to actually bring up some notes too, so you all can follow along with me on what we are seeing. And please feel free to ask questions. At first, I'm going to first go through the fix and flips and the notes that I took away from them. I'll give an example of one as well, and then I'll go into the RV mobile home parks, which is there's a lot more meat to that, and a lot more of that conversation, which is fun. I love going through and figuring out what we can do. It is not as quick as an evaluation for a fix and flip, but we have found a way over time for us to be able to evaluate these things within 5 minutes or so. And so that's what I want to share with you, that framework as well. Cool. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. So it is very possible that I don't see your questions, but please feel free to ask and I will get to it. Thanks for joining today too. I hope you all take away some valuable things that you all can use when you're evaluating deals, when you're looking at deals, especially as a bird dog. Share screen. Okay, cool. All right. You should all see. All right, cool. I see it. You all see it. All right, fix and flips. Some of the main things that we are seeing, and just as reminders for us, again, we want to use this Friday call for a couple of things. One, to give feedback that we are seeing based on our buy box, but I think it applies to anybody else's buy box as well. The numbers might be a bit different, and the threshold in which they're willing to commit to maybe a fix and flip, right? Like for me, I want light to medium rehab. If I have to go through a whole gut and a roof replacement. Um, it's just not something that I'm focused on doing right now. And so um, I'll give you an example here of one in Fort Lauderdale that my wife and I actually just went to a couple of days ago and walked it. That was sent from a bird dog. And but ARV, the ARV. So what we're looking for is ARV of 600,000 and less, not the asking price. And the reason why is because once you get over that 600,000 purchase price, that what we're trying to do is fix and flip this, right? Put it back on the market. And the ARV, or the price that we're going to put it back on the market once we renovate it, we want it to be under 600K, because once you get over that range of 600K, that's when properties start to sit, right? They'll be sitting longer days on market. And so it'll make it more difficult to or our holding costs will increase, because we're going to be holding it longer trying to sell this thing. Because like once you get over, it's like 1 million, 1.1, 1.2 million, now you start to get a different demographic of people that they'll pay. Those are people that have higher incomes. They're going to pay for those $1 million homes. And then you have a majority of the people that want a $600,000 home or less. And then once you kind of get in that middle area, you're just going to be sitting on a property for a little bit longer than what's ideal for fix and flip, because you'll have those holding costs. So that's why we have our ARV at 600,000 or less. I just wanted to call that out because it could get confusing. Of like, oh, okay, let me find a property, a good fix and flip that's under 600K. It's like, no, well, we're going to want to find one where the ARV, the comps in that area, are around 600K or less. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. No questions on that. Light to medium rehab. Like I said, this one in Fort Lauderdale, we actually went and drove by. We drove to the house, checked it out. There's actually a couple of fix and flips in that area, which was awesome to see. However, when we went into it, there was no door handles on the door. The roof had a blue tarp over it, and when you actually look on the inside too, you could see like a brand new roof would need to be had. There needs to be mold remediation, and basically it's going to have to be a full rehab, and the AC unit would need to be replaced. So like for me, that was just too big of a rehab for us to take on. Again, I think the what I'm trying to get from that is, and that's hard to see for a bird dog. It is one that, because the wholesaler that the bird dog got it from didn't have any photos or anything of the place. I don't think they had time to go out and get photos. They also didn't know the state of the roof, or maybe they did, whatever the case is. So the bird dog couldn't get that information. So when in doubt, you can still send it. It's not a problem, because it did meet. Had it been more of a medium rehab, we didn't have to replace the roof, we would have moved forward with that deal. That's why we drove out there, because that was the only like undecided factor. We couldn't really tell what the roof looked like from the one photo that we had. So we ended up basically passing on that one. Okay. The other two things that I want to bring up is most of the things that we're seeing, right? Which I think it is like the most common. If you see all of the notes across what Ingryd is seeing, Monica, and myself, there's not enough comps or not enough spread. So the not enough comps really and if you follow Jamil Damji, his Instagram, if you'll actually see he posts a comp sheet, basically an appraisal, like here's what the value of the property is based on what an appraiser would say. And he gives really great notes on things that you can look for when you're finding comps in the area. So the same thing somebody that's going to appraise the home would do. It's like looking at homes that are plus or minus about 20% in square footage, about 2,500 plus or minus the lot size. Same type of home, like if it's a single story, you want to look at a single story. If it's a 2-story, find comps that are 2-story. Now, things aren't always perfect where you might have the same house, but one has a carport, one has a garage. He also will show on there too, here's what you deduct from the ARV if it doesn't have a garage or it doesn't have a pool. But it's really, really good information that you can use, very quick 1-page cheat sheet. And I think the biggest thing that when the wholesaler will get the deal and they'll post it, they usually will pick comps that are like 12 months. They look 12 months back, which the market is so different, right, from 12 months ago. We want to get as close to the last 90 days as possible. And if we have to expand it to 6 months, we will, and looking at actual comps for a property. And so what we're finding is most of the comps that a wholesaler is saying will make up the ARV that they're marketing, right? There's, home ARV in the area is 400K, and they're asking is like 249. That 400K, most of the time what we're seeing is it is either a property that is sold longer than 6 months ago and even closer to 12 months ago, and then or it's not in the same division as that property, right? It's cross a major road. There are differences there that will really make or break whether or not we can trust that ARV. And so we'll pass on a lot of them because there's just not enough comps to feel very confident in what we're thinking we can sell the property in 4 to 6 months once we're done with the rehab and we market it. Okay, cool. Any questions about that? Anything that I can help with fix and flips? I don't see anything so far, but I just want to make sure that I can answer any questions you all have. You all want to go to mobile home parks and RV parks. Okay, cool. All right, let's get to the really fun stuff. So the mobile home parks, RV parks. All right, the goal is what we're doing on our side too, because we have so many of these deals. It's like, how do you quick 5 to 10 minute back at the napkin evaluate these RV parks, mobile home parks? And one of the things that we're looking for too, one of the two questions that we really have is, can this deal generate at least $5,000 per month from day one as is? But then do we have a pathway to getting, once stabilized, to generate at least $12K per month? So within the next 12 to 18 months or so, once we stabilize, we can net $12,000 per month cash flow after all expenses are paid in debt service. That's what we're looking for between me, Monica, and Ingrid. Okay, cool. So that's not always apparent though, like how you get to that number, because in order to get to a cash flow number, you need to know the debt service, right? You need the debt service, meaning your monthly payment on your financing, right? Whether it's a seller finance monthly payment, a DSCR loan, whatever it is, hard money, whatever that monthly payment is that for the debt that you're taking on to buy the park, that's your debt service. No, we'll consider cash, Sandra. We'll consider cash for sure. It needs to be at a cash discounted price, but we can definitely do it. Yeah. There's so many ways to structure these. It's a lot of fun. Actually, the other day, Pace was on a Zoom and described a really fun scenario that we literally earlier that day sent the same type of offer out. This is really, really cool. Hopefully not too confusing, but let me know if it's a really unique structure. So we have a mobile home park that has like about 120 plus pads in the south, I'll say, and it's not a highly populated area, but there's a lot of opportunity for long-term housing, as well as there's some big events that happen throughout the year, a couple times of the year, that would do very well as short term. So we could split up the park, right, and do like 60-40 long term versus short term renters in there. And what's cool about this park is when we got it, looking at the NOI, the net operating income, right, which is your income minus your expenses, not including debt service though, right? Not including your monthly payment to cover the debt. This is just your income and your operating expenses. But the NOI was like 70,000. It was nothing. And so, and I'll get to why that matters because I'm going to talk through this. But what's cool is a place with 120 pads, when you do the math, and you look in the NOI, it doesn't make sense. But then we found out more from the owners who are older that they only had the park open partially for the year, and they weren't taking any long-term tenants. So that 70K NOI, which was about 100,000 in income and about 30,000 in expenses. And so that NOI was only from partially renting out the year, right? And so at the surface, if you just go off of the net operating income or just the income, you would skip over this park, no problem. But because we looked at the pads as well, like you kind of, as you're going through these and you're evaluating them, you'll really start to pick up good nuggets of like, all right, well, what's the income that's coming into the property? Okay, how many pads are there, right? Because it'll give you, like, if it's 12 pads, 13 pads, and you're doing an NOI that's less than 100,000, you're like, okay, that probably aligns. That makes sense. But if you got 120 pads and you're only doing less than 100,000 NOI, there's something going on, and you should dig in further into it. And so in this deal, we went through, and the seller's asking price was $2 million, and they wanted a huge down payment of $1.4 million, right? And so when we structured it, we're like, well, all right, what can we do to get? And when I got on the phone with the seller, we were talking through it and trying to see, like, hey, we could do a Morby method, right, where we get a DSCR loan to cover the large down payment that the seller wants, and then the seller sits in a second lien position with their remaining amount, right? So 1.42 million, so 600,000 in a second position, but we would get them that huge down payment. The problem is a DSCR loan won't cover the 1.4 million because the income for that property, or the net operating income, is so low, right? Like they need to actually be able to see that you can cover the monthly debt service with and some, right? You need a buffer. You need about 1.2 times 1.2 of the debt service, so that they know you can cover it. And with 70,000 NOI, there's no way that it would be able to cover it. And so what we structured was that in the first, let's do a lease option to allow us time to get the park up and running, raise the rents, and then within 9 months, that should be enough to then go and get a DSCR loan on the amount that the seller wants. Like, that's such an amazing structure, because you can literally, I was talking with Ingryd, and Ingryd brought up this idea. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a great strategy, because you're able to make a monthly payment to the seller on an option to purchase, right? So a rent to own, if you will. And we would do that for 9 months, and then we have a option price that we can purchase it at, which will essentially be the same purchase price that the seller wants, and at that time when we exercise that, we will then give her the 1.4 million that she's asking for. But we need enough time to raise the income and raise the net operating income in order for us to get a DSCR loan, which we can do within 9 months. That's how this park is ready to go. It just is not being rented. And so we pitched that to the seller. We're waiting to hear a response back, but I think that's such an awesome strategy. And I say all that just because there's always potentially a good solution, so long as the park has that potential to make a certain amount of income, and that net operating income we can get to at least 200,000 or more. That's a long way of me saying at least 200,000 or more NOI is what we're looking for. Let me scroll down here. Yeah, our targets. So, and this is at stabilized, right? Stabilized meaning once we get it up and running and we get it running to its full potential, not as is today, but can we actually get it to 200,000 net operating income within 12 to 18 months once we raise the rents, cut the expenses, maybe value add amenities, things like that, increase the occupancy. That's how we get to stabilized. And so now I'll walk through this in more detail. That may or may not have landed with you if you're like newer and not fully understanding the different levers and the different financing strategies that you can use. I don't know, in the commercial space, there's just so much, to me, there's less pushback with these brokers and with these sellers, these investors of these commercial assets. Like they're very used to structuring things creatively. And so it just allows for a lot more flexibility, I feel, compared to doing the single family homes. Okay. Chris, tell me more about high equity and low equity in single family home. Okay, I can. I'm going to ask you to clarify that too, and I can get to it towards the end as well, because I want to go through the from a bird dog perspective. What are things that you should be looking for? What are some nuggets or notes that a bird dog can take away when looking for RV parks and mobile home parks? But I can get and answer your question on high equity and low equity as well. And if we can't get to it, feel free to message me on Instagram too, at Bobby Souza. I'm happy to answer the question. All right. So first thing, what I would look at when you pull up a deal, and let me see if I can get, I have an example here. Okay. All right, let me make sure that you all can see the spreadsheet. Cool. All right, when you're getting a deal as a bird dog, maybe you're making calls to brokers, or maybe you're finding a deal on a Facebook page, whatever the case is, right? What I would first look for their offering memorandum, their OM, usually a PDF that's really nicely designed and is meant to market the property. They'll have financials in there most of the time. And then also I would ask for their financials, right? At least the trailing 12 months, at least a T12, right? The last 12 months, or a P&L, right? A profit and loss that we can look at, because what I'm looking at and what you can easily do as well, pull it up. So this is a P&L over the last few years. It's actually nice that they put this together. And this is a 70 pad RV site, cabin site. And what you can see here is that, so at first, let me start with this. If you just go off of NOI, their NOI is 46,000 last year. NOI before that, 109. NOI before that, 77,000. So in this, right? Hey, Vittorio, what's up? In this, you can see, right, this doesn't meet our threshold, which we want at least 200,000 NOI or higher, because the reason why is because if we're getting, and this is as is today, right? And so my 200,000 NOI is what we'd like to see, at least like once it's stabilized. But this is far off from that, right? And if you just were to go off this and you say, okay, not a deal, I'm not going to even send it to Bobby or Monica or Ingrid or any of your buyers, depending on what their threshold is, right? And I would definitely ask them for some of the back of the napkin things that they look at, so you can better evaluate deals on the front end before you send it to them, and it'll help you learn and understand what is that they're looking for in here. If I would have went off this, I wouldn't have even sent it to me, right? Or if you do that, but something that catches your eye, right? Look at these operating expenses, right? They're super high. 81%, 76, 88%, 84 so far this year. That is very high. So what that tells me is that there is a lot of room to decrease the expenses, because back of the napkin, when you first get a park, you can just evaluate it around 50%, right? Just for to be safe. But you can get them out into the 40% to operating expense, the expense ratio, I should say, right? This is an expense ratio, which is really just the expenses divided by the income, right? So it is this total expense, 346, divided by the, where is it? Total income, right? So they're operating a very high expenses. What I would say is, so don't just look at their NOI that the broker has or the P&L or whatever they're showing has. Go to the actual income. Take the income, multiply that times 50%. That's like a rule of thumb, right? So now, had they been operating this effectively, their NOI would actually be around 196, 197. That's close to our 200,000 range, because this is as is, right? This isn't even part of the value add. Well, now I want to look at this park. Now this looks interesting to me, because we still have a lot of room for us to, there's potential value add opportunities to raising the rent increases, increasing occupancy with marketing, adding some amenities, right? And then definitely cutting the expenses. That will raise our NOI as well. And that's part of this 50%, right? We're cutting their expense ratio by 30%, which, you can see throughout their expenses too. They have a huge expense going towards labor. I don't know exactly what, but that's what we could dive into further. But for me, if as is NOI is around 197, had they been operating this somewhat effectively, this will allow me to now go further and say, okay, based off of this, what's the value add look like? What can I even rate? What can I raise the income to even further? And where can I cut the expenses? And ultimately, once I get to that evaluation, I'm like, all right, I will prioritize this as one that I'm going to look into further. So this is just that quick back of the napkin, right? So as a bird dog, when you're looking through an RV park or a mobile home park, go into the offering memorandum, the OM, or the P&L, or the T12, any of the financials. Look to see what was their last full year of income. Take 50% of that and see where it's at, right? And again, if it's close to 200,000, that is one I want to see, because I'll be able to we can potentially be able to raise that, right? It's enough for you as a bird dog to be like, okay, cool, let me send it. When in doubt, always send it anyways. I actually, a bird dog called me the other day and she was looking through the financials, and things did not add up with how many pads they had, like over 100 pads. And the expenses were just through the roof. They were baking in some things into the expenses for tax purposes, but like you can look through those and little by little get a good understanding of what it is that, I guess, sift through all the junk that's in here, like maybe the very high operating expenses, or maybe they're only open part of the year. Their occupancy isn't high enough. That's stuff that's like, you really have to deep dive into this. And I wouldn't expect a bird dog to go and do that. But at a minimum, if you open it up and say, what's their income the last 12 months times 50%, what is that? That's the NOI that they could be getting. And then, okay, that's close to like the 200,000. Or even if it's 150,000, that's as is today. So it's potentially, they could raise it to 200,000 or more once it's stabilized. So back into here, that's what I kind of call out here, right? Find the total gross income multiplied by 50%, what the property should be doing as is today. And then I give that example. So yeah, the one that I just showed you, right? 70 pads. Yeah, day one goal is monthly debt service. Yeah. So we prioritize deals based on what we're seeing for the potential NOI, right? Like ideally we want 300,000 or more in NOI for us to look at it, but we will consider 200,000. It's good enough for for you to send over to us. But this is ultimately, when we see these, right, as is numbers, when we see this shows us that we are able to get to a path of cash flowing at least $12,000 a month once we stabilize it after debt service, right? Now we have to work and structure the debt service, whatever that looks like, whether it's a seller finance or a DSCR loan, Morby method, whatever the case is. We're going to work backwards. But if we have these NOI numbers, this is where we really want to see 300,000 or more. But we will look at 200,000 or more, just FYI, right? So quick steps: find your gross income the last 12 months in whatever deal you're looking at, times it by 50%. That's what they realistically should be at in the NOI. And then take a look at their NOI that they're actually stating too, because then it's just for evaluating. You can actually see, like, hey, are they operating effectively? Like, is their NOI actually close to the one that I'm calculating? Just so you can get an understanding. Most of them are above, right? You'll see a lot of RV parks and mobile home parks operating in the 60%. The one is 88%. And so you can compare it. And then if the numbers look good, right? If it's at least 200,000 in the NOI, anywhere close to that, I would send it to us. We'll take a look. If you're ever in doubt, send it to us and let us know what you have questions on too. The other biggest thing, what we need when you send it, because I'll always email back to bird dogs that if I don't get this information, but send over the offering memorandum if they have it, the OM, and at least, like, if the OM has numbers in there that I'll be able to understand what their as is NOI is and their projected or pro forma NOI looks like, that's cool. But I really would like at least the financials too, a T12, a P&L for 2024. That information will help me evaluate that further, because it's all about a efficiency, right? You're sending us deals. We have so many deals. We need to be able to quickly back of the napkin and then say, let's prioritize this to look further, or, hey, let's look at this after we get through some of the other ones too, because maybe it's on the lower end. But if we don't have that information, I'm going to always be emailing back and saying, can you send me the offering memorandum and the financials, at least the last 12 months, if possible, or 2024 full year. These are extras, really. And understanding why the seller is selling, all that stuff. I mean, we can get to there, but it is nice to know, if you have that information, whether or not the seller is like why they're selling, why they want to sell. It gives us a good idea of what the opportunity is. Maybe it's tired landlord, they want to retire, or we've had where it's like a business or a company LLC comes in and they stabilize it. Now they're selling it for top dollar, right? Like, that's not our park. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for those. We really want those mom and pops that are looking to retire And usually that's where the value add opportunities are. And we can come in and increase the net operating income and really drive up the appreciation of the asset over time. Okay, cool. Any questions? Anything that I can help answer? How many people on here are bird dogging right now? I want to make sure that I can answer questions as you all are trying to do this yourself. What are the challenges you might be having? What questions do you have? Awesome. Hey, Robin. Paul. Nice. All right, cool. You'd like to start. That's great. So if you go to, where's mine? If you go to my site, let me stop sharing my screen. Bobby'sBuyBox.com. If you're looking to start, take a look at that. And hey, what's up, Richard? Fix and flips, yes, they can be on market. Yeah, off market, on market, doesn't matter if the numbers work. Richard, evaluating co-living. Ingryd is definitely can speak to that better than I can. However, in my co-living, so actually I'm going to pull up my website because this also helps you, Paul. You want to get started. This is a great way to get started here. Okay, on my site, oh, let me share my screen again. Okay, on my site, if you look at my buy boxes, this will give you a good idea. And Richard, I'll answer the co-living one the best that I can. And then I think next Friday definitely would be good. We can have Ingryd on to talk through how she's evaluating them. She's actually has a couple now that she's finished rehabbing, I believe, and then she might be rehabbing another one right now. All right, so I have a few buy boxes. My mobile home park. This is what we were just discussing. It's pretty straightforward. We'll look at a park anywhere in the country. We do not want any waste treatment plants. If you see that's not something that we're looking to do. There's just too much. There's a lot of regulations, a lot of high maintenance in them. It's not something that we want to do. And we want at least 30 pads. If it's less than 30 pads, honestly, there's probably not going to be enough income to generate what we're looking for, which, like I said, was at least $12,000 a month in cash flow. And then, yeah, value add opportunities. We'll hold it for usually about 5 years, either refinance or sell it. Is what our goal is. A new one, land car wash development. This one's fun. You can read through that too. I'm not going to go through all that. Let me skip to the RV park. Look, I have that one here and my fix and flip. Let me go to the co-living. Do you look at 55? Yes. No, 55 plus is fine. Yeah, it's not like a single family home where I typically stay away from that. 55 plus mobile home parks, RV parks, that is perfectly fine if the numbers work. All right, co-living. So I'm looking basically in the same areas down here in Florida that I am for my fix and flip. So Richard, you're actively on my bird dog team is part of that challenge, and so you've been sending me deals. It's in the same area: Broward County, Palm Beach County, Miami-Dade County. I'm right in the middle of all those counties, and it's somewhere that I can travel to, and so that's why I prefer them down here. I also have these because, like I said, Ingryd looks for these properties too. So if I can funnel those in, I can work with her on those out in Maricopa County. 3+ bedrooms, 1,500 plus square feet. We're evaluating it. So one of the ways that I am evaluating it too, kind of like you would evaluate a short-term rental, which maybe some of you guys know or may not know how to do it too, but you can use like Airbnb. A lot of people use AirDNA. You can use Rabbu, Rabbu, which is a free Airbnb calculator. And all it does is taking what is the market looks like, and it is projecting what the revenue could be for properties based on the data coming from Airbnb. This, for co-living, we use PadSplit, and I'll look for comps, kind of like you would a long-term rental too. How much is a property going to rent for long-term? Well, yes, you can use tools that you might pay for, like Rentometer, and maybe you can use the Zestimate rent on Zillow, but you can actually go to Zillow.com and look for properties that are on market right now for rent in that exact same area, and understand how long has it been sitting there for rent. Like what is the median average price look like for that same type of property, same size bedroom, and how long has it been sitting, and has there been a lot of people like activity on it, right? In Zillow.com, you can see like how many people saved it or reached out about the rental. And usually it's like, well, how many days has it been on market? And is it like a 1-for-1 match with how many people actually reached out to the agent to inquire about it? And so if you're like, hey, this property could rent for $3,000, and there's only one rental in that area that's on market right now for $3,000, and you look and it's been sitting there active, looking for somebody to rent for 90 days, 120 days, that's probably not a good comp to understand what your rental is. So I say all that because this is a easy, free way to understand what you could be making as a pad split, right? So if I'm looking in Fort Lauderdale, and you can actually create an account for free and do this as well. They have other evaluation tools inside their website, but let me just show you right from the get-go here. So if I look in Fort Lauderdale, and let's just say it's in this area near Oakland Park, and now I can filter down to certain amenities too to kind of match what it is I'm looking for. But ultimately, what I'm looking for is how much is a room going to rent for per week. Like, what does that price look like? Let me zoom in here. Okay, cool. So I'm going to look for where my property is located, and within that vicinity, like what do rental rates look like in the area, right? This is like $298, one room left, $298 per week. This one is coming soon. I wouldn't look at that. This one is $340 per week, 3 rooms left. This one over here, 1 room left, $268 per week. This one's $237. It kind of ranges. And I'll usually pick a number kind of in that range. Let me see if I sign in, if I can get you. I don't know if I have I don't know if I'm logged in through this. Let's see. I might have my account with the other. Yep, no. That's okay. Inside there is an evaluation tool that'll give you the average. Let me do that. Here you go. I'm logged in on this one. Go to dashboard. go to resources. I think it's this one, where to buy. And then let me do Fort Lauderdale. I think this is it. Yep, here you go. Perfect. Okay. There's 366 units, 21 upcoming deals. The demand, there's been 6,800 searches in the past 30 days. What they're seeing for occupancy is around 70%. And the weekly room, 287 per week with a shared bathroom, 407 with a private bathroom, right? So if you're going to build out your co-living to where every single room has their private bathroom, you can comp at around $400 per week per bedroom. If you're going to do one where there's a shared bathroom, price is around 287 per week per bedroom. So Richard, based on your question, right? One, you want to be able to evaluate what the based on like the square footage, is there enough parking? Is there close enough distance to transportation, like a bus route or anything like that? And then how many bedrooms can you add into here? And once you're doing that evaluation as well, then you can say, okay, I can, it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,000 square feet, and I can get up to, let's just say, 7 beds. And now I'll take my 7 beds times 287, and that'll be my monthly income. And then I can remove my expenses as well from that. And they have a calculator within PatSplit as well that you can use. Does that help when I'm like looking through comping that? Richard, let me know if that helps, if you have any other follow-up questions on that. This is for co-living. Okay. Awesome. Cool. Perfect. Let me see if there's anything else that fix and flips. Okay, cool. In my buy box, by the way, too. So if you're trying to figure out, not really sure if it's a light, medium, rehab. I put this little grid here to kind of, it's a little hard to read, so I probably need to change the color here. But what the price per square footage that I'm evaluating this on as. And so I'll take the square foot of the home times the price per square foot, and that'll give me a good idea of my rehab budget. And I could see here, heavy rehab is where it's a full gut job, major structural issues, plumbing, electrical, roof repair. Roof repair doesn't mean I won't do it. It's just it's a combination of that along with the other things, right? So you can see my medium rehab. I will could do a roof and HVAC replacement. It just depends on how that stacks up with the other rehab that we have to do. Another thing too, I prefer cities with A or B rated elementary schools. So you can use ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, whatever AI tool that you're using, and put in an address and quickly see, hey, for the elementary school zone for this property, what is the rate of the, what's the rating of that school? And you can kind of see, and this A or B is just because for us to sell this, like we really want properties that we will not be sitting on for forever. We bake into ours 6 months of holding costs, and we really, to the best of our ability, do not want to be holding it longer than that. So that's why I have some of these preferences here. Same with Ingryd. So IngrydHernandez.com is her site. And then Monica's is monicasbuybox.com as well. I could put that in the chat. Let me see, where is that? Here it is. Here's all 3 of ours. Cool. All right. So I hope this was very helpful. So just to recap too, went through the fix and flips, what we have been seeing. Hopefully there's some good takeaways there. And just in terms of, we want ARV less than 600,000, which means asking price, probably in the 300s, 400 range. Um, and then, depending on the rehab, right? But ARV less than 600K. Also, you can still send the deals. Like I said, like if you don't have enough comps, or you're not very confident in comping yet, still send it. Just I'm just setting the expectations of that's the feedback we'll probably give. And that's most of the feedback we give is there's not enough comps, or the comps are insufficient. Like there's comps from 12 months ago, and we're not confident enough in the comps that have sold nearby to say that this property could sell at a price high enough for us to take it on. And then for RV parks, mobile home parks, told you that quick rule of thumb: get the latest income over the last 12 months, or maybe just the full calendar year for 2024, times it by 50%, which is your expense ratio. And if it's $200,000 or more, send it over to us. I mean, if it's 180, 190, send it. But quick rule of thumb: 200,000 or more, NOI, the net operating income, which also can be shown as the gross income, the net income, send it. And make sure, from whoever you're getting the deal from, ask for the financials, the last 12 months of financials, and an offering memorandum if they have it, and any other details that you can share for us to evaluate. The more information you get up front, the quicker we're able to evaluate that and then move it as a priority for us to move on, or quickly get you feedback on whether or not we want to proceed with it. And we have so many deals coming in. Please be patient too. We try and get them done within 48 hours. I think with the bird dog challenge and everything going on right now, there's such a high volume of deals, and that's why I'm working on creating tools for us to evaluate even quicker. And once those tools are good and ironed out too, I'll roll them out as well for bird dogs to use. And what else? Oh, and then we went through the co-living and buy box. So hopefully this is very helpful. If you guys need anything, if you have any deals you want to send, feel free to send them to us. And if you have any questions or want to reach out, introduce yourself, say hi, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Bobby Souza, BOBBYSOUZA. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have too. Cool. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks everyone. Thanks for staying on. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. And I will see you all next week. Thanks.